Welcome to the Stupid News in Review. This is going to be, hopefully, a weekly thing where I, Doug McMahon, looks over some of the funny news from the past week, some of the dumb news, some of it's kind of political, some of it's just plain old comical. Hopefully, I get a few views. Hopefully, a few people actually like what I have to say. We'll give it a little bit here. Some of the stories that we'll be covering tonight will be a truck driver that's an over-the-road, 26-year-old male that died. Wait until you hear what he died from. We'll be going over a couple of teachers in the news. Even have a little bit of Donald talk. Everybody knows what Donald talk is, I would hope. And a couple of things from science. And a couple of Canadians. Well, a Canadian, I should say. He was quite the funny one. I'm glad I have some friends. We'll find out just how many friends I have after I get done doing this. So, let us begin. Because you can always go back and watch. Because it's always news and review. It's not like you can't look the shit up. I did. So, let's start out with one of the funniest stories of the last week that I thought. Penguins in the Antarctic are being sodomized by seals, fur seals. At first, whenever I saw this happen, I wasn't really sure if it was even possibly true. But a little bit of research, reading the article, yeah, it is. You can look it up online. King penguins are being, for the better word, molested by fur seals. Now, you would think a seal, a lot bigger than a penguin. These aren't the penguins of Madagascar like in the movies. No. King penguins are pretty decent sized. Fur seals, pretty small seal. This first happened back in 2006. Scientists actually caught it on video. What they say is that they speculated that the sex act at the time may have been the behavior of a frustrated, sexually inexperienced seal. Well, if you tell me if you're trying to mate with another species, i.e. seal versus penguin, yeah, you're pretty sexually frustrated, I would have to say. Now, one of the other things that the actual scientist said, and his name is Nico D. Brun, honestly, I did not expect that the follow-up sightings of a similar nature of that in which we experienced in 2006 would ever be made again, and certainly not on multiple occasions. This happened 4 times. They have it documented 4 times where fur seals basically held a penguin down and had his way with him. Woohoo! Now, one of these situations didn't turn out quite all that well for the, just for the poor penguin. 3 times, the seals let him go after they had their business with him. 4th time, nah, the seal wasn't too happy with the sex and ate the penguin. So, isn't that a nice one? Hey, let's do a little bit of praying mantis on those poor guys. It would suck to be a king penguin right on that island. I don't know if I could handle it or not. Well, nah, I couldn't handle it. Not at all. Nah. Let's go on to the next story. This story, don't you dare. This story happened with baseball. If anybody follows baseball, you heard that the commissioner finally came down hard, literally, on the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, a few years ago, the St. Louis Cardinals decided that they were going to hack into the Houston Astros recruiting database. Well, they got caught. And they got caught red-handed, badly red-handed. Now, they ended up having to give away 2 draft picks and $2 million. Now, in the world of baseball, that's really nothing, but imagine what we could do as a nation if we caught another country spying on us. Hey, we could go to France, or to Russia, or to England, or to Germany, Japan, whatever country we catch spying on us, and go, we want 2 of your top spies, plus 2 spies to be named later, and $3 billion. Hey, We gave $9 billion to the UN. Why not get $3 billion from somebody else for them spying on us? Sounds like a pretty good trade. Hey, baseball does it. Why can't we do it as a country? Sounds good to me. Now, another news story. Tallahassee, Florida. Let's hear it for the churches. Everybody gets horny, right? Well, this pastor down in Tallahassee, Florida, he decided he was going to get a little bit of afternoon delight. One small problem. The husband showed up early from work. Now, imagine this. You're sitting out on your front porch and all of a sudden you hear crash and bang and you see a naked man run out the front door and down the street. What's the first thing you're going to think? That's my pastor. And then all of a sudden you see the guy running out of the house holding a wallet, pants, and he's on the phone. Yeah, the husband cornered the guy out and behind somebody else's house and decided to call the cops and just wait for the cops to show up. And then whenever the cops showed up, they arrested the pastor for indecent exposure. Here's a little one for you. And what's so funny is that the woman told the police that her husband yelled he was going to kill Simmons. Yeah, well, guess what? If I'm a husband and I come home and I find my wife and my pastor doing the horizontal bop in the middle of the afternoon, yeah, I'm going to probably say something like that too. The greatest thing is, the pastor on Sunday got up in front of his entire congregation saying, "You cannot defend sin." Yeah, you can't defend a hard boner either. Now, let's go a little bit out to California, out to San Francisco, our favorite sanctuary city. The idiots running San Francisco actually thought it would be a good idea to sue President Trump, the United States government, stating that the executive order that cuts funding from the immigration-protected sanctuary cities is unconstitutional and a severe invasion of San Francisco's sovereignty. Let's think on that for a second. Sovereignty. Doesn't that mean that you're an independent state? You don't have anybody giving you rules, or better yet, you don't have anybody giving you $1.2 billion in funding each year to help out your sorry-ass city that decides that they want to riot and throw a tantrum and break this and break that just because somebody's trying to go ahead and do their free speech at the University of Berkeley. Not that I'm stating anything weird, that anybody hasn't seen any time on the news. Hey, guess what, San Francisco? Until that big old crack running down the side of you decides to shake a little bit and break you off into the Pacific, you're not sovereign, you bunch of dipshits. Now, let's go to a little bit of sad news. This one really kind of hits home. Now, 26-year-old immigrant truck driver, legal immigrant truck driver, married, 2 little baby girls. He's out over the road driving back and forth across the country, ends up getting a tooth infection. I'm sure quite a few of us have had tooth infections. We go to the dentist, we get them taken care of. This poor bastard doesn't have enough wherewithal to go and get himself checked out at the local dentist, or any dentist for that matter. Gets out there on the road, the infection gets worse and worse and worse. He finally decides to visit a dentist in Oklahoma and have his tooth cleaned and was prescribed antibiotics. One small problem. The antibiotics were too late, and the infection went into his lungs, and he ended up dying. Dying from a fucking tooth infection. I've had a tooth infection bad enough to where they had to cut it out of my gums. They told me the same thing. I was probably a month away from infecting my entire body with sepsis. This poor bastard, yeah, he actually did allow it to go sepsis. It got into his lungs, killed him. You can look it up. Tooth infection leads to a 26-year-old California dad's death. There is a GoFundMe page for his wife and his 2 little girls. Beautiful little girls. I saw the picture. Really feel sorry for them. That's one of those bad stories that really sucks. Man, I couldn't imagine dying from a tooth infection. If anybody out there's watching, go and get the tooth infection fixed. They can kill you pretty damn fast, too. Now, back to a little bit of funny. Canadian mint worker. This hosebag worked for the Canadian Royal Mint for, I want to say, from 2006 through 2015. In those times that he worked in the gold area, where they don't have a lot of video. Yeah. Let's go ahead and just let the fox into the chicken coop and not put any cameras where you're playing around with the gold, making gold coins. Not a good idea. During the years of 2014 and 2015, this how-do-you-do guy managed to smuggle out of the Royal Canadian Mint $130,000 worth of gold in his rectum. What was he doing? He was taking rubber gloves, sticking the gold into the rubber gloves, Vaselining it up, and right up the poop chute. He'd get it out, and then he would go and sell it. The only problem was the guy that he was selling it to, he got pinched, and he turned him in. He was only getting $7,000 for each one of the gold bars. Hey, way to have to go to jail for 30 months where, yeah, you're going to be wanting to really work on that rectal control. Yeah, because they're going to help you work on it too. Now to one of the funny stories. Everybody sees it on the news. Teachers having sex with kids in school. I found 2 stories this week. Just in a week. And of course, as funny as it may sound, both of the teachers, both women. One actually having sex with students. Next one, we'll see here in a second. This one was having relations with the student in Philadelphia. So, what's the person do? The student goes, makes a nice little journal, keeps the journal, and goes to her next school and leaves the journal out to where one of the supervisors can find it. Supervisor reads the journal and goes, oh boy, great, we got an issue here. And goes, talks to the student, and of course the student spills their guts, yada, yada, yada. Needless to say, Nina Scott, 28, was charged with 34 counts of sexual assault on a minor and corruption of a minor. Wow, what a way to have a relationship for 8 months. Let's go to Oklahoma. I watched this video. Any teacher that goes into a school wearing a dress without panties, you might not want to be doing cartwheels. Doing cartwheels, not a very good idea, especially whenever all the boys in the class are taking video. Sure enough, cartwheeling teacher wasn't wearing any underwear and arrested for indecent exposure as soon as the video hit the news. Let's read a couple of the comments. I actually printed out the comments on this one. Let's see what they have to say. Did no one notice that was a one-handed somersault? Who worries about the missing panties? I'm more concerned that she did a hell of a somersault. She knew she wasn't wearing any undies. Yes, and she did it anyways. But then allowed the cell phones in the schools and taking video. Even posting the video is a chargeable crime. Not really. Not whenever you're a teenager. They don't care. Recorded on a cell phone. Where's the proof? I mean, with all this alternative news and the info today, I need more proof. Really? The video of her doing the cartwheel and all the little pixelations? Yeah. She knew it as soon as she got done, too, because she started giggling. Well, that's some of the news. And it just keeps on getting funnier and funnier and funnier. I'm quite sure with everything going on in the world, we'll see some more funny news. Kind of like the one guy over in France earlier this morning who decided, hey, let's go to one of the back doors of the Louvre with a machete and start screaming all sorts of weird shit and not expect the French police at the Louvre, which is probably what, the third or fourth most famous museum on earth, that's guarded at every entrance by the French military police. Yeah, guess what? They shot him. Well, that's it for the news of the week this week. I'll be looking out for some more news, and make sure that you follow the McNews Desk with Steve McGrew. This is Doug McMahon, McNews Desk reporter, signing off.